Alright, today we're looking at this. Well, at first I wasn't sure what it was. Even looking at the back, it doesn't say who it's manufactured by. But looking at the FCC ID ISNJK-268, it points to LimTech, another one of these obscure Taiwanese keyboard manufacturers. And when I noticed this with the missing keycap here and this switch type, I was like, what is this? I kind of had to pick this up and mess with it, but actually, it's actually a super interesting vintage mechanical keyboard. However, before getting this one, I actually got the ISNJK-168, which didn't even have a mounting plate at all, which made the shoddy build quality of this even more flimsy. At least this one actually has a mounting plate in it, although I think it is still plastic. But that 168 had Aristotle type switches, like black Aristotles. Oh, what is it? Taiwan Black Axis or whatever. So I decided to resell that thing, hoping I'd get these same switches, but I decided to get this one. Although very similar, it was still a little bit different. But these aren't necessarily Alps-based clones, although they have Alps mount. They're actually Omron and KPT-based clones because they have the 3-pin pinout design, which is also a little bit more interesting because I haven't had the opportunity to touch Omrons or KPT switches yet. I'm actually going to pull up a couple pictures, but taking apart these switches, you can notice that they actually have a wide copper click leaf, so the question is, how do those feel? Well, actually, not bad. And they still have that, lighter than Alps key feel, like the OA2 clones. But with it being copper, it still has that interesting characteristic where if you press it really slow, it's like very lowly tactile. But if you press it more normally, then it feels more substantial. I guess maybe that's a copper thing, I don't know. But it's weird. Also, you may or may not notice these things have insane ping. Trying to be a ping master runner-up, I guess, or something. The contacts in these switches sort of remind me of Cherry MX, where the slider holds it open, and then when you push the slider down, it lets the contact close. So it sort of works like a Cherry MX switch, but having 3 pins, though, it's a little weird. Although I realize this is the only KPT or Omron-based clone that you can open without desoldering. Alright, let's get on the light here. It has that pin clip on the side there that you can actually open up to the side using a screwdriver or something. Although it's not as easy to do as Alps switches. You can unlatch those clips. You kind of have to go back and forth a couple of times. And then from there, you can actually take the top right off. So I will be cleaning the insides of these switches. Although they weren't super bad, although they were a little bit bindy and scratchy, but it's like this one and this one I cleaned out. They don't really bind at all anymore, so the board will feel a lot better once I clean out the switches. The keycaps are kind of crap, though. They appear to be silk screened legends and thin ABS, of course, but luckily this board was pretty clean, so I didn't really have to do my normal cleaning routine, at least. But yeah, the build quality on this thing isn't best, at least, but it's easy to take apart with just 3 screws at the back, and then the top case just kind of tilts up. So at least that's easy to work with. Has basic clip out feet with, yeah, I guess the other way to name an ATXC switch. I have learned that if you type like 8088 or 286 into eBay, you'll get some of these more obscure keyboards. I think that is how I found this one, to be honest. But, you know, it's just one of those weird and obscure unbranded keyboards that can be really interesting, especially with the rare KPT/Omron based clones that this thing has. Also has a little bit of a cable gutter. Oh, I don't like this type because these little things can snap off easily, but coiled cable is still decent. It's a 5-pin DIN plug, of course. But yeah, it's just like coming back to these switches, they don't really feel or sound that bad, but despite pinging a lot. It's just one of these quirky, unbranded Taiwanese things. And does have, you know, big ass center and tiny backspace. These are all Co-Star stabilizers, by the way, so don't think this would work very well for an Alps keycap replacement set. But apparently, although there's very little documentation of these ISNJK boards, apparently they can come in a whole bunch of different switches. Although this thing is actually very similar in looks to the NTC KB6251, which can also come in a whole buttload of different switches. And that'll conclude the video of this keyboard. So, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and that'll be it.